Prince William, Prince George and Princess Charlotte. I was quite taken by Prince George. Did you see there was many expressions that Prince George was doing? We're used to seeing Prince Louis on the balcony, but I thought Prince George was able to show a bit of his personality this time.
This point, to invite you to one of the special students. Everyone, can we just get a couple of minutes, please?
It's tragic what the royals do to their children. I think each generation of the royals somehow takes their revenge on the next generation by making them dress in these appalling ways.
Fight, get off, get off. That's what broke through the quiet morning air outside Buckingham Palace. And just a few steps away stood Prince George. It was supposed to be a normal royal event, a bit of tradition, a bit of pageantry, the changing of the guard. The guards were lining up, the crowd was already forming, tourists holding up phones, kids on parents' shoulders, everyone waiting for that perfect Instagram shot. It was chilly, the kind of day where everything runs like clockwork. Prince George was there too, only 11, but already learning how this world works, standing beside his father, Prince William. This wasn't just a casual visit. George was there as part of his early royal training. Little moments like these shape how he sees leadership, responsibility, respect. And then everything changed. It was clear something wasn't right, and George saw it all. But how did a young royal kid end up taking control of a situation that even adults were ignoring? Let's go back a bit.
The 12-year-old who will one day be king. I'm Hugh Whitfield. Welcome to The World. In this episode, Prince George turns 12. It potentially means big changes for the royal family and soon a new school.
At first, it was just a normal day outside Buckingham Palace. People were excited. Some had waited hours just to see the changing of the guard. The band was warming up, playing light tunes. The guards in full red uniform and black bearskin hats moved into place. Then there was Prince George. He stood close to his dad, Prince William. Both were dressed properly. Calm, quiet, serious. George wasn't just tagging along. He was there to watch and learn. At 11 years old, he already knows he's not like every other kid in the crowd. He's being trained, slowly, carefully, not just to smile for the cameras, but to one day lead. These ceremonies, they're more than just old traditions. They're lessons. And George pays attention. You could see it in the way he looked at the guards. Focused, curious. He's been told many times what they stand for. They're not just there to march around. These are people who serve the crown, who protect the country. George knows. You don't laugh at that, you respect it. For a while, everything felt calm. It all seemed to be going as planned, but not everyone in the crowd saw it the same way. But while George was focused, someone else was treating this whole thing like a joke. 3 tourists, that's where it all started. They were standing right near the front of the crowd. Probably had a good view, but instead of watching quietly like everyone else, they started acting up. At first, it was small stuff. Loud talking, fake British accents, pointing and giggling, but then they got bolder. One of them walked way too close to the guards. Another one raised his hand and shouted a fake command, trying to mock how the guards give orders. The third one, he did a sloppy fake salute and posed for selfies right in front of the guards. Most people around them looked uncomfortable, a few even stepped back. But the guards, they held their ground, just like they're trained to. One guard in particular stood out. James Thompson. He's one of the younger guards, still pretty new to this level of duty. But he was doing everything right. Even when the tourists were pushing it, James didn't move. That's what they're taught, no reaction, no matter what. Still, you could tell something was off. His jaw tightened, his eyes shifted. Just for a second, he was trying hard to keep it together. It's tough. You're standing there doing your job, and someone's treating you like a clown. He wasn't allowed to speak up. He couldn't respond, and these guys knew it. The crowd started to pick up on it too. The energy was changing. People stopped laughing. Some even whispered, but no one stepped in, and just when it seemed like it couldn't get worse, one of them crossed the line. This guy leaned in just a little too close to guard James, started mocking him. You think you're important? You just stand there. You're nothing but a statue, he sneered. What's the point of you? It was different. Even the crowd noticed. You could feel people start to shift. A few turned their heads, unsure what to do. But one person who saw the whole thing was Prince George. He wasn't laughing. He wasn't distracted. He saw the man's face, the way he said those words. George looked at James, the guard who was still standing strong, not moving, not blinking. Then he looked at the man saying all those things. And then he looked around. Where were the adults, the bodyguards, the people who were supposed to protect the space? They were there, they saw it, but no one did anything. And George knew something had to be done. He took a deep breath. He stepped forward. One small step, but enough to shift the whole moment. Because no one was expecting it. Not from an 11-year-old kid. Not during a royal ceremony. Not when security was standing right there. Nobody expected him to walk forward. But he did. And the whole crowd froze. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout or point or make a big scene. George just stood there, right in front of the man who had been mouthing off. He looked him in the eye and then said, "You need to stop. He's not here to be made fun of. He's doing his job." That was it. 7 words. But they changed everything. There was silence. The man didn't laugh this time. In fact, he looked stunned. It took a second, but then people in the crowd started realizing who just spoke. That was Prince George. Some started clapping. A few gave small nods. Others even whispered, "Good for him." Disrespect gone. The jokes done. That loud energy from earlier, it just disappeared. The tourists didn't argue. They backed off. One of them even said, "Sorry." Another looked around, clearly embarrassed, and walked away. The crowd relaxed. James, the guard, didn't react, but you could see it in his eyes. He knew what just happened. George didn't stick around for attention. He just stepped back to his spot next to Prince William. But those few seconds, they said a lot. Because for George, respect wasn't a show. It was real and it mattered. But that moment, it didn't just change the crowd. It made waves inside the palace. As the ceremony wrapped up and the crowd started to move on, the effect from what George did wasn't over. Back inside the palace, people were already talking. The royal guards team had seen it all. They could have stepped in, but they didn't. They let George take control, and honestly, they were impressed. One of the senior commanders, someone George has probably seen during training, caught his eye, gave him a small nod, just a silent way of saying, "Well done." But not everyone reacted the same way. Some of the palace staff whispered about it. He broke protocol, someone said. Was it safe? Should he have stepped in at all? But then you look at William and Kate, his parents. They didn't make a scene, but you could see it in their faces. This wasn't just another royal appearance for George. It wasn't just about standing still and smiling for cameras. He was watching, listening, taking it all in. And when the moment came, he didn't freeze, he acted. That's the part that hit everyone the most. He wasn't told to do it. He wasn't guided. He just knew what needed to be done. But the person most affected? The guard George stood up for. His name is James Thompson, a young guard, still pretty new to royal duties. This was supposed to be just another day on the job, until it wasn't. Later, after everything settled, James had a short moment with Prince George. Nothing grand, no headlines, just a private, simple exchange. He thanked him. "I felt seen," James told someone later. It meant something. And it wasn't just him who felt it. Tourists who had seen the moment, they started acting differently, more respectful, less joking around with the guards. You could even hear parents saying, "Look at what Prince George did. That's how you treat people." No press release came from the palace, no official statement. But people knew. People talked. It became one of those little royal stories that quietly spread, not shouted from rooftops, but whispered, shared between staff, passed on by visitors. One of those moments that sticks. Because it wasn't staged. It wasn't part of a plan. It was real. So what does this tell us about Prince George? He may be young, but he gets it. George didn't step forward to be noticed. He didn't try to play the hero or act like someone he's not. He just saw something wrong and spoke up. He didn't make it dramatic. He didn't get angry. He just used his words. And that's the thing. He understood the moment. It wasn't about power. It was about respect. It wasn't about acting royal. It was about acting as a human. And if you ask people who were there that day, they'll tell you that wasn't just a prince in training. That was a young man who already understands what leadership really looks like. And honestly, that speaks louder than any title ever could. What would you have done at that moment? Would you have spoken up or stayed silent? Do you think Prince George made the right move? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think.